It's not financial advice, not legal advice, for entertainment, educational purposes only, and anything I say is my opinion. Please don't make any financial decision based on anything I say in these videos. Listen, double check you're still subscribed to the channel, double check your notification on, and if you hit that like button, double check it's working properly, because you know these bad actors are working overtime to suppress the channel because they're terrified of more people becoming aware of all the fraud and corruption in the United States stock market. Guys, listen. The evidence of fraud and corruption in the AMC play is overwhelming, okay? Overwhelming. The SEC is fully aware of it. The DOJ is fully aware of it. The FBI is fully aware of it, and they're doing absolutely nothing about it. And you guys know why. Because the ones committing the crimes are the 1%ers, and the victims of these crimes are majority retail investors, pension funds, and institutions that follow the rules. No doubt in my mind about that. But here's further evidence that AMC is being totally manipulated. The float of AMC is only about 500 million, okay? 500 million. And we know that retail investors hold a majority of that and some. And not only that, retail investors are not lending their shares out. We already know that. We know not to lend out our shares. Okay, we learned that 3 years ago. And all the new AMC investors know that also. So they make sure that their shares are not being lent out. Morningstar is reporting that there's 4.9 billion with a B AMC shares on loan. So there's only 500 million real AMC shares, the float of the company, yet Morningstar is reporting 30 times the float of AMC on loan. Make that make sense. How do you loan 30 times the float of a company, especially when retail investors own all those shares and they're not loaning their shares? It is all one big Ponzi scheme, and they need new counterfeit shares to cover the old counterfeit shares to keep the Ponzi scheme going. How can the SEC, the DOJ, the FBI see this data, the same data we're seeing, but they don't see anything that requires an investigation? Could you imagine if Gucci only made 500 million Gucci bags and they found out that 14.9 billion was sold? Or if Louis Vuitton made 500 million Louis Vuitton bags and they found out 14.9 billion of those bags were sold, what would happen? There would be a big DOJ, FBI, joint task force. They would be running through Chinatown and all these other places where these counterfeit bags are made, and they will be locking people up and holding them accountable. But because they're counterfeiting AMC shares and a majority of the AMC owners are retail investors, the SEC doesn't care. The DOJ doesn't care. The FBI doesn't care. They practice willful blindness when there's fraud in the market, and the victims are retail investors, pension funds, and institutions that follow the rules. There's no way you can look at a float of only being 500 million, yet they're reporting 14.9 billion on loan. Yet somehow our regulatory agencies don't see anything that requires an investigation. Okay? They would not allow this in any other industry. In any other industry, if they saw things like this, people would be in handcuffs. People would be indicted. But these bad actors in our financial industries, they own our politicians. The politicians control our regulatory agencies and our law enforcement agencies, so they do absolutely nothing. Our only hope is to get these guys in front of a judge and a jury, get this evidence exposed in discovery, and at that point, the SEC, the DOJ, the FBI will be forced to hold some bad actors accountable. Anyway, please leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's possible for there to be only 500 million AMC shares, but 14.9 billion on loan, yet the SEC doesn't see anything that requires an investigation? Anyway, have a great day. God bless, and I appreciate y'all on this journey with me.